Hello everyone, I'm Miss Iman. I'm a teacher here at FunFox, and in this video, I will be walking you through some of the most important features and best practices to keep in mind as you write your essay. Now, before we dive in, I'd like you to pause the video over here and read through Malika Pandey's 2022 submission titled The Mulai Forest. She has written her winning piece on a topic. Imagine yourself as a grandparent in 2022. Tell your grandchildren a bedtime story about an inspirational person. Perfect. Now that you've taken a look at her entry, one of the first things I want you to look at is how Malika has chosen to start her piece. Remember when we learned about sizzling starts? In her essay, she has chosen to provide a very rich description of this warm and gentle grandmother as it's raining heavily, maybe not heavy, and how she's tucking those grandbabies into bed that their mom once slept on, and it's giving this reader a sense of warmth, a sense of comfort, right? And just by zooming into smaller details like these, you too can orient your reader by cluing them in as to where they are in the story, who's going to be guiding them through it, what kind of personality does that person have, without directly saying, oh, her nice grandmother sat in the village in front of a forest. You can also look at the kind of vocabulary she's used over here when she says the trees are bending and swaying with the wind, but still standing tall. And then we get a little sense as to what kind of grandmother is she. When they write, I had planted those trees when I was a teenager, and they had always been with me ever since then. Memories flooded my mind. Just then, I knew the perfect story to tell them. Now, she's using this very gentle, reflective tone just to invite the reader, the listener, into thinking about her memory, to thinking about her good old days. Something I'm finding particularly striking in this first paragraph is how this girl has used so many different types of sentences. Some are simple, some are complex, some are compound, and she's trying not to bore the reader with so many ands and buts. She's got a very clear idea, and she's going to paint it with some strong vocabulary. Now look at the second paragraph. It reads, I want to tell you the story of Jadev Payeng, a man who believed in himself, my biggest inspiration. Just by introducing a real person early on in the story, the readers have a concrete hero to look forward to have an interest in. And also, you've got to notice how Malika has gone about in building this interest. She's used some masterful punctuation with the ellipses, just so the readers know when to pause, when to revel, when to give respect to a particular name, a particular phrase, and spend their time reading it. So that could be a stylistic feature you could look into incorporating as you write your own piece as well. Now, another thing you might want to focus on and look at in Malika's piece is how she's chosen to move the story along. Now that we know who we're talking to, she chooses to zoom in into one particular moment, this singular incident in this man's life that has given him purpose. That is the central idea of what the story is. When you write, instead of focusing on an elaborate war sequence with 12 dragons, 18 flying monkeys, try to stay realistic and use short, specific examples like these that are well worded, that are properly phrased to explain why your main character is acting the way he's acting or why they're going to do what they're about to do. This can be a very powerful storytelling tool. In my opinion, this particular portion is really the pinnacle of her entire essay. She uses accurate and well-researched facts and numbers like 200 hectares, 300 hectares, 40 million trees, just to give the reader a sense of the scale of Jadev's achievement. Numbers are a brilliant logical form of evidence that the reader's brain truly enjoys. So try to sprinkle these in your entry as well to put your strongest foot forward and show that you have done your homework and you absolutely know what you're writing about. Another thing I want to point out is her use of specific and vivid details where, there are so many vultures, enough Bengal tigers. Just the word choice that you're having, the specific details that you're putting in. This really helps paint the right picture for your reader, because it becomes a very different scenario if I say he watered the plants daily. He's the gardener. Maybe he gets paid by the government to do this. He's tending to the plants. He's looking for, are any of the leaves yellowing? Are there any weeds coming out? Anything attacking the forest trees? And that's how he's able to grow them to such a huge magnitude later on. And these concrete images, they're just going out of their way to show real outcomes. And these details that this child has chosen to incorporate, they help you imagine the forest, doesn't it? If it's 3 football fields, if it's 300 football fields, you feel the importance of what was trying to be achieved by Yadev, right? Whether it was that he was trying to help the snakes, or whether it is that now he's helping a whole ecosystem develop. Another thing I really love is the way that she's chosen such realistic tones for these little kids to have. Oh my, 300 hectares is so much. 300 hectares? That's about 300 football fields. The way these children talk to their grandma is not only realistic, but it's also helping us understand the scale, right? By converting a big number into something that we are familiar to visualize is something that really sets her submission apart. It goes to show us what exactly is the strategy this child has. How is she going to repeat and emphasize on the effort that was being done? And you see that theme develop. He went on to the forest every day to plant trees for decades. Almost for 40 years, and after all the efforts, he managed to plant 40 million trees. Just this idea of somebody who's going out of their way every single day, dedicatedly paying attention to all of these trees, just because of something they saw early on in their life. It really helps build a lot of admiration for your main character. You might choose to build, or show rather, who your main character really is. What are their motivations? What are their intentions? Just by focusing on these smaller details. And you can also look at how these children, later on in the story as well, they'll help in summarizing and moving the story along with their dialogues, with their questions, with how they're asking their grandma for more, and how they're making the theme sort of more explicit to the reader. Another thing I want you to notice is all the photos that Spinning Entry had. Every single one she has put in easily reinforces what she's saying in the text. It's showing the person, it's showing the place they're at, it's showing the kind of recognition with the Padma Shri in the hand. All of these things go out of their way to sort of emphasize and reinforce. Again, reiterate, show that you've done your research, and give the reader something to ponder over. If you look at these images, they leave you with a few questions as well that you might try to answer briefly by highlighting what each and every single photo is talking about. Now, the next thing I want you brilliant writers at FunFox to focus on is structure. It's very easy to understand the flow of events and Malika's purpose as she writes. The beginning is a very cozy scene where she's introducing the hero, she's talking about the narrator, telling us where they're at. In the middle, we get to see the young Jadev's motivation, his project, the decades of care he's invested into it, and how it has impacted the forest and the animals there. And as we come to the end, Malika ties that all up neatly, and she leaves them with the recognition he received, the lesson she wants the children to take away. And she also adds a call to action, go plant trees tomorrow. And so when you're writing, I want you to also make sure that you're also planning out every single tiny little detail before you write, so that you're setting the scene, you're showing the problem, you're showing the action being taken. What are the stages? And then you're coming to the resolution or the result, or maybe a lesson that you want your reader to take away, right? And immediately, just by doing this small, tiny little thing, your entry is going to become a lot more easy to follow, a lot more satisfying for your reader. And if you also notice, we also have a little bit of an emotional journey as we read. At first, we're a little bit surprised, who's the Jadev? Later on, we're admiring him for his daily effort for 40 years, and near the end, the absolute end, we see that we're very proud of him. He's somebody who's won national awards, Commonwealth recognition, and this little arc feels very uplifting and motivational. It's something nice for the reader to chew on as they exit your piece, something for them to think about as well. So you want to add that impact to your piece as well, and you want to make sure that you're giving your reader a journey to enjoy, and not just a disconnected little puzzle for them to solve. Now, if I can leave you with one thing and nothing else, let it be this. Look at how the story is moving, right? It's going from a little tiny little memory, it's going into action, and then it's modeling how stories can really inspire people to demonstrate some real action, right? This is the way you want to end. You want to give the listener a little tale to connect to their own lives, a little tidbit to work on as a next step. Now that they've read your piece, what should they do? And if you can show how one person's small tiny action has the ability to change the world, if you can inspire your reader to get up and do something, to make a difference, that is how you're able to stand out. Look at how this particular writer, she had a very warm narrator, somebody we already like, this nice, kind grandmother who's got some clear facts, who's got some strong imagery, and then she's ending with a final call to action just to make the whole message real, right? I want you guys to do the same thing. I know you can do it. I know you're all capable and incredible writers, and I know that our conscientious kids at FunFox will whip up something outstanding. So give it your best, everybody. Good luck. And I hope that these tips are able to help you improve your piece as you begin to write and also as you proofread. All right, take care, everyone. Bye.